Welcome to the Greatest Story Podcast with your hosts, Zac
and Josh.
We are here to discuss and react to some of the greatest stories ever told. We will look at books, movies, video games, and all forms of storytelling to figure out what makes a good story and what are some of the greatest stories. Last intro of Season 1.
Which is a story unto itself.
That's true. A good one, hopefully. But speaking of stories, Josh, are there any good stories that you've been interacting with?
Yeah, so Elden Ring had a massive expansion that came out, almost a second game. I am not playing that, but I did reopen Elden Ring, which is a very difficult, frustrating game. But because the season 1's coming to an end and we finished reading Mistborn and also finished reading Romeo and Juliet, I have some of my reading minutes back, and I have reopened Eldest, which has been quite pleasant. It's a little easier to read than when I was a kid, so it's nice. Almost bedtime kind of reading.
Yeah, that's good.
So we want to thank Repeat for engaging in the Discord, constantly stimulating some good Discord in the Discord, and some good discourse in the Discord. So thanks for that, bud. We also want to thank our notorious Pathfinder Commodore and Champion. So thanks to Pathfinder.
Notorious is...
It just means known, well known.
I guess that's true.
I know.
All right.
We want to thank our Pathfinder Commodore Peggy B and our Pathfinder champion Paige S.
You guys are champs.
Yeah. Well, you know who else is a champ? Halbrand.
Halbrand is a champ.
Of something.
Yep. Yeah, hashtag Halbrand for president.
Whoa.
Make Middle-earth great again.
Farzan for president.
Oh, our Farazan. Yeah, he's good. Well...
Are they?
I mean, protect our jobs.
That's true.
Yep.
Since when do Numenorians cower from a single elf lady?
That's right. We're going to be talking about Rings of Power. We're going to look at Season 1 based on your votes, our Patreon members. You have chosen this, and so we are looking through Season 1 of Rings of Power. Like we've done before, we're just looking at Season 1, so anything that might change as they're setting up Season 2, or anything that they've left undone because they're setting up Season 2, we're not looking at that. We are looking at Season 1 as an enclosed story, how it checks out.
Which this is our second most recent medium that we've looked at. So I guess here's your spoiler warning, but it's been out for like 2 years, maybe 3. It's been out for a while, so I don't feel bad.
Yeah, so spoiler warning, if you got this far and you haven't seen Rings of Power and you don't want things to be spoiled, turn back now.
Yeah, hopefully our banter didn't spoil it for you.
That's true. You could say, "Fly, you fools!"
What do hobbits think of Gandalf's fashion?
I don't know.
They think it's fly.
Oh, wow. Smooth.
I saw that on Instagram the other day.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I can't take credit.
Well done to give credit. We cite our sources.
I mean, I couldn't tell you what page. It was like what Lord of the Ring memes or something like that.
They're all the same. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Rings of Power. Very exciting. This is a very enjoyable story, right?
The majority.
Yep.
Remember, our shtick is to stay positive, and the show had a bunch of controversy when it came out, but
yeah, a lot.
I can say confidently, second viewing was more pleasant than first viewing.
Yeah, I've seen it 4 times probably, so.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
This was the first time I've watched it since it came out.
Yeah, I've watched it like once a year, and then, preparation for the podcast and everything, so.
Oh, you've watched it? Okay, I see you.
It's like almost 3 years old, I think. I think it came out in 21.
Yeah, but it might be difficult to not get the plot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I feel like the plot's pretty good, actually.
Yeah?
Clear plot. Let's look at it.
You ready?
Yep.
All right, so the overarching problem is that once upon a time, there was a dark Lord of the Sith. Just kidding. Once upon a time, there was God, and God was singing the world into existence. And then there was a bad hombre angel named Morgoth.
Discord.
Yeah. Hey, nice. You can join our Discord. And he sings a heavy metal rock song. In contrast to it, creates evil in doing this. Well, all the good guys have to fight the bad guy, Morgoth. Morgoth calls on a lesser angel named Sauron to back him up. Morgoth eventually gets beat by all of the good guys. But in the process, his homeboy Sauron gets to escape, and Sauron kills the main character, the protagonist, Galadriel's brother. So she's on a quest for vengeance. Meanwhile, Sauron has escaped into the wind. And so we're not sure what he looks like. We're not sure where he went. And so the overarching mega plot is, where is Sauron? So Galadriel's on a big quest. Meanwhile, we're introduced to different main characters as well. An elf guard named Arondir and his friend, Bronwyn, who is a mere mortal woman in the Southlands. And they're having hearing some bad things are going on in the town over. So they get rolled up into this plot. We meet not hobbits, but Harfoots.
They're hobbits. I mean,
but they're not yet.
They're not hobbits of the Shire, but they're
the same kind of species.
Yeah, it's like Smeagol and he's related.
Smeagol and
Deagle and Bilbo and Frodo
goes fishing with.
Yeah, right. Nice quotations.
I can't see it. They're just living their best lives.
They actually do go fishing, Josh.
I know.
Okay.
It's just they catch those hands, I guess.
Oh, there you go.
But the Harfoots, we are introduced to a protagonist as well named Nori. Nori witnesses a guy falling out of the sky as a shooting star.
Yep. That doesn't happen every day.
Yeah, and so now you're led down this path with, who is this mysterious stranger? Is he good? Is he evil? Is he Sauron? Is he not? We're not sure. But all of these plots begin to circle around, and Galadriel on her journey winds up in Numenor. They're also trying to prevent their doom.
Yep, Island Kingdom. They're struggling with these premonitions and visions of future failings.
Noah's flood.
Yep.
Basically.
Yep.
Anyways, but they all link up in the end trying to figure out, where is Sauron? What's going on? How do we stop this existential crisis?
Yep.
And, oh, by the way, the elves are all terminally ill.
Yep.
And Elrond's on it, though.
Yep.
The end.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. We start with Sauron in the introduction. Sets up, like Josh said, the main idea is searching for Sauron, seeking after Sauron. Main person doing that is Galadriel. There's the problem of the elves. There's a lot of kind of mystery box writing with reveals in different episodes and new mysteries in other episodes. Elves and dwarves working together to seek a solution to this kind of darkness that's spreading, this corruption. Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
I think that covers it, right? Some of those mystery boxes are, I guess one that's even left undone is, has Sauron pre-set up all the bad things that the bad guys are doing throughout the season? But all that does culminate in the big reveal of who Sauron is.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess I agree mostly with the mystery box plot. It's, if you've read a lot of Tolkien's Legendarium, you're going to be pretty familiar with a lot of concepts, which gives you a little heads up. At least with names, right? Like with, was it Counselor Farazan?
Yeah.
At the time.
That he's going to have a more important role later on. Yeah,
but I mean, I even knew, because I read certain things, that he's not trustworthy.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, like you can keep an eye on him. Or the Southlands, you can figure
where it's located.
Yeah. If you look at a map,
and you're like, interesting.
Gee, I wonder what this is going to turn into.
Yep.
So on and so forth.
Sure.
So it's not as mystery boxy, I think, if you're into Middle Earth.
Yeah, I don't think that that's their primary audience. So I think their primary audience is people that have only seen the Lord of the Rings movies.
Well, I think
and The Hobbit. I think that's their primary audience.
I think it's just a rival to Game of Thrones, and Amazon just wanted a rival.
Maybe that's part of it.
That's
maybe
why they made the show.
Yeah, that could be very much part of it. But that's not related to the story. That's related to the geopolitics of business and movies.
Global business.
Cardboard
boxes.
Yep. If you want to see a podcast episode on global business and cardboard boxes,
we'll do 1984.
Sure, that would work. Yeah.
Editing Zac here. You should definitely comment on YouTube and Spotify and like those comments to force Zac and Josh to do an episode on global business and cardboard boxes.
That would work. Okay,
Tune in season 3, I guess.
there you go. What about clear character arc?
Oh, there are a lot of characters.
There are a lot of characters, so I don't
You wanna-
find. Yeah, I can take this.
Do we want to do like they're kind of pairs? They pair off.
They do pair off a lot, and I don't find that there's a lot of character arcs. So I think they do this okay. Like one of the more okay ones is Bronwyn goes from kind of a unknown follower to more of a leader figure.
And Arondir learns to follow his heart.
Yeah, to some extent, but I don't know if there's much of a character arc with Arondir. I don't see.
He kind of does some sick ninja kicks.
Yeah, but that's not a character arc. That's
No,
just,
I know. I'm saying that he's more than a trope. I mean, he's a character, but he's kind of a plot device.
Yeah, I think he's just he's a solid warrior. His whole identity, his whole identity is wrapped up in the love.
Trope.
Yeah, he is.
They do the cross race trope.
Yeah, so he is part of the trope. So Bronwyn's got a kind of character arc. I think the same can be true of Galadriel as well. She has a kind of character arc.
See, I think they wanted it to be bigger.
Yeah.
But in my mind, she regresses somewhat to a similar place.
Yeah. So, and here's the thing. I think that, and again, we don't know what's going to happen in season 2 or 3, right? This is scheduled for 5 seasons. So part of what we're doing is looking similarly to how we looked at Aragon. We're isolating a story, and there are certain things that may be prepping for other kind of conclusions that we haven't reached yet. And so I think a lot of what they're hoping with Galadriel is to set up a very negative portrayal of her in season 1.
Season character growth.
Correct. I think that's what they're going with.
Well,
and so when we're looking at this, it's a very negative, kind of stagnant, not much growth. I think maybe she is arrogant and then becomes a little bit more humble or trusting towards the end.
Well, why don't you dive into Galadriel just in a bit more detail?
Yeah, so Galadriel, like Josh mentioned at the beginning, she is seeking for revenge on Sauron, who murdered her brother Finrod. So we're looking for this kind of conclusion in the plot of her kind of gaining revenge for Sauron, and she's wrestling the whole time, the whole story, with this kind of good versus evil, darkness versus light kind of idea. And I think what she's wrestling with is justice versus revenge. And I think she deludes herself for most of the season that she is seeking justice on Sauron because he's really bad and orcs are really bad. And I think by the end of the season, she starts to realize that she's actually been seeking revenge. And I think that starts to soften her, especially as she gets betrayed, deceived, manipulated, all these kind of ideas.
She even threatens some really dark stuff of herself that sounds very orcish.
Very orcish, yeah. There's one scene in particular where the enemy is portrayed as a good guy and Galadriel is portrayed as a very bad guy, and you kind of see, wait a minute, maybe revenge is not all cracked up. All that it's cracked up to be. Yeah.
But I think there are some more stellar examples.
Right, like what's a good character arc?
I mean, we got to dive into the best bromance of the century or of the age.
Yeah.
And we get to talk about dwarves.
Yep.
So, and
which would be
Durin and Elrond.
There you
I was
go.
trying to find that.
No, it's okay.
Was it in Two Towers? Or no, it's Return of the King, and they're feasting and doing a drink off between Gimli and Legolas. And he's like, it's the dwarves who get to go swimming with little hairy women or whatever. And I was trying to get the right words of that quote in time. But anyways, that was the backstory for this. But yeah, so we're also introduced part of Elrond's quest in helping the elves not be, sick forever. Is he's on a quest to preserve their immortality. And that takes him to his old college dorm
roommate
house. I'm just kidding. That's
definitely the vibe.
But basically his long lost friend, dwarf Prince Durin, son of Durin Sr.
Yep, the king.
Son of Durin Sr. Every dwarf leader's named Durin, basically. Anyways, and they strike off a rocky relationship.
Wow.
Get it? Because they heal their relationship by striking rocks.
At least that's the beginning of beginning of the healing.
Anyways, but they go through this wonderful back and forth where they're keeping secrets from each other. One person's caught in a secret, apologizes, the person forgives him. The person that did the forgiving's caught in a secret, and it goes back and forth. And you watch their relationship heal, and it also circles on Durin's family with his wife Diza, and how Elrond's just kind of welcomed back in as part of the family. Durin confronts his own family for rejecting Elrond, and Durin basically says he's like my bloodkin. And all of that is just wonderfully done. And you watch the two reconcile and come. I'm not trying to steal the ethical lessons thunder, but basically it's a progress of keeping secrets from your friends is bad.
Yeah.
And trusting your friends is good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good.
And man, the dwarven music.
Oh, it's so good. Everything about the dwarves and Elrond is excellent. Yeah. Khazad-dûm is fantastic. I'll get more to that in Captivating World, but just really, really good.
Just stuck to that BS tier.
Yeah. We could just have a whole show about Khazad-dûm and Durin, and it would be
Elrond.
It'd be
I like that.
with the mix. But I think it's really good. Elrond goes from. I really love his character arc in his friendship with Durin. He goes from being aloof and kind of inconsiderate of Durin as his friend.
Maybe manipulative.
I don't think he's manipulative.
He's very political about it.
Well, he's guarded. And I think he's wrestling with what he's told to do from the king. But even at the very beginning, their friendship is on edge, not because of politics, but because Elrond has missed his wedding, his children being born. Like, to Durin, he's like, Elrond doesn't care about me. I'm living my life, and Elrond has not checked in. We've grown apart. We've become separate people. We're no longer friends. And to Elrond, he's like, oh, this is just like the way it is. Like, if you want to do something, I'll let you know, you know? And so I think that Elrond grows to be like, no, I am going to intentionally invest in your family. I'm going to intentionally invest in this friendship. And that's part of the whole secrets being removed and revealed and trusting each other is he's no longer like, oh, it's fine if we go 20 years without seeing each other. He's saying, no, I'm going to be considerate of what it means to be a dwarf and actually invest in this friendship.
Yeah.
And I think Durin is struggling with holding on to grudges and kind of not he has to understand Elrond's point of view as an elf, and Elrond has to understand Durin's point of view as a dwarf. And it's really interesting to see how they relate to one another, and they both grow to become better. And they both are then looking out for what's best for each other, and they're looking out for what's best for each other's people.
Yeah,
right? Elrond agrees not to kind of reveal the dwarves' secret new stuff.
Which kind of does.
Well, yes and no. I mean, he doesn't officially break his word, but, like, what's all happening? And the dwarves, like, Durin's like, we gotta save the elves, and King Durin is like, no, we're not gonna do that.
Which, would you say that Durin's the better friend than Elrond? Durin definitely, I think, loses more. He's basically, like, taken out of the dwarven lineage.
That's true. Yeah, but I don't know if that means he's a better friend.
I guess that's
because your friendship is not based on sacrifice. Like, the consequences of the friendship do not determine the value of the friendship. Elrond is not penalized by his other peers in the same way that Durin is penalized by his father. But Elrond's also not a prince, and Durin is a prince. And Elrond gets into some fights with some of, like, his king. He gets into a fight with Gil-galad at one point, and Elrond has to be like, well, I'm going to use your own words against you kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think there's issues that happen. Elrond's struggling with being manipulated by his own. Elrond is the center of a lot of manipulation, while Durin is the center of a lot of anti-elf sentiment.
Yeah, but there's a lot of weight of not wanting to ruin your people and where do your loyalties lie. And I think Durin sticks his neck out farther than Elrond in a lot of ways. But all that to say, it's a very complex, rich character arc for both of them. It's very entertaining to watch. It's very cathartic to watch. So it's good.
Yeah, I think it's good. Elendil has a little bit of a character arc.
I think I would put Queen Muriel
I think they're
with him.
together. Yeah. I think.
And I think they are together by the end of the season.
I don't know about that. I mean,
there's like some romantic tension.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's more of like
That's not the point.
a soldier, like a committed first night kind of idea. You know what I mean?
I mean, I do.
Captain of the guard.
I will not be surprised
if they like end up together. Yeah.
And she goes with, because eventually Numenor's gonna. Sorry, this is not a spoiler. This has been out for like 55 something years. Eventually, Numenor's gonna go down.
Going to go the way of the fishes. Yep.
So I would not be surprised if Muriel goes
escapes. Yeah.
To establish Gondor.
Mm-hmm.
Would not be surprised.
Potentially, I could see that happening.
Anyways, but that's not.
But basically, Elendil goes from Numenor first, but like current, not quite evil, but very selfish Numenor, to, you know what, we're gonna go back to our roots. We're gonna be good Numenor. I'm gonna be in favor of good Numenor. And Queen Muriel also is like, okay, I'm not gonna be scared anymore. I'm gonna do what's right, even if there's consequences.
So it's almost like a societal tension.
It is.
Where you have those that practice the old faithful ways.
Yep.
Like at the root of what does it mean to be a Numenorian? What does it mean to stand out and be heroic versus we need to take care of Numenorians first. We need to make sure Numenorians have enough.
Yeah, it's less about what's right, more about what's prosperous, what's successful.
The most powerful.
Yep.
And there is like, I guess I'm going to use this word. There's racism.
That's what it is.
Numenorians and the elves. And I think they don't really quite explain where it came from, but they used to have a lot of friendship, but it looks like
they make comments about the like lifespan of the elves versus the lifespan of the men.
So it comes back to power and being successful.
Exactly.
Numenor doesn't want to share their secrets because why would you help this other race out who, already has a massive leg
advantage? Yeah.
But regardless, Elendil's name means elf friend or lover of the stars. And there's like a lot of arc where he embraces the full meaning of his name, but he's hiding it because he doesn't want to be outspoken in society. And then him and Queen Muriel, for the sake of the true Numenorians, basically embrace what their names mean, embrace what Numenor was about.
They attempt to do what's right and save a people to whom they owe nothing.
Which, back to plot, it bites them in the eyes.
Right. Yeah, they didn't see it coming, that's for sure. So
neither of those statements will make sense, and you're going to think we're crazy unless you've seen the show. So go watch the show.
Go watch the show. Yeah, I would recommend it. We're not to the tier list yet, but I would recommend it. It's enjoyable, like we've said. What about clear ethical lesson?
I think there's 3 strands that kind of go together.
Yeah.
So I guess, do you want to tackle the first one?
Sure. So the first one goes along with this main overarching plot that Josh mentioned with the who is Sauron, where is Sauron, what about Sauron, right? And that kind of boils down to this idea of looks can be deceiving. And so you have to know who your friends are. You have to figure out who people are. Certain characters who you think are maybe trustworthy or good turn out to not be. Certain characters that you're kind of like, oh, hesitant, who is this guy? They turn out to be okay. They turn out to be good. Things that you thought were going to happen are flipped and kind of upended. And so all these characters are struggling with who can they trust? Who can they know are their actual friends and not deceiving them? Who's going to manipulate them? And so I think one of the ethical lessons is you have to know your people. You have to actually understand who has got your back, who are you caring for, all of these different ideas.
Yeah, and I think kind of tying into that is once you know who kind of your friends are, who your people is, your clan, whatever way you want to describe this, you have to trust them. You have to stay in contact. You have to lean on each other, and you also have to accept the strengths and gift sets of each other. We talked a little bit about Elrond and Durin, but that comes out a lot there. I think Bronwyn and Arondir have this to some degree. Nori and the totally not Gandalf hobo guy from the sky.
The stranger.
Always follow your nose. Basically, you pick any pairing, right? Elendil, Galadriel, Muriel, Galadriel. It all really comes back to you need to learn how to trust your allies.
Yeah.
But you also need to be very sure that your allies are authentic and not just telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah, there is a lot of telling people what they want to hear and a lot of manipulation that's going on.
Which goes into the looks can be deceiving.
Yeah, definitely. Those are related ideas.
Because Halbrand's a handsome guy.
Halbrand is a handsome guy. Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that the kind of last thing that we see is this idea of resisting good together instead of seeking revenge. So remember, Galadriel's after Sauron, and she thinks it's justice, but what she wants is revenge for the death of her brother. And I think we see with Galadriel being compared to people like Arondir and Bronwyn, they are standing together, trying to protect people, trying to stick up for what is good, not out of any sense of revenge, but out of what's right and protecting the innocent and all of these different ideas. I think you see that with Elrond. He's trying to save his people. You see with Durin kind of sticking out, looking together, being together, kind of fighting together, this kind of idea of you will go farther together than you will alone. And also, revenge is not good. In the end, it's just going to cause disaster.
Yeah. And I think you could kind of reword some of that to say, don't call evil things good. Like, don't justify evil.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to look in the mirror, right? Don't become the thing that you've sought to destroy. Is that it?
It came back. No.
Oh.
Well, sort of. It ties into that. The whole thing where... I guess is where the spoiler comes out. But at the very end, the last episode, right, you learn that Halbrand Sauron. Oh my gosh. The eye was resting. And there's the whole thing where he's like, I had given up hope. Thanks, Galadriel. Like, you really gave me an ego boost out there on the raft, man. There's kind of like, you can create your own monsters.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. In your quest for revenge, you have created the very thing that you were seeking.
To destroy.
Yep.
Yeah. You have done that to yourself.
Yep.
Anyways. But that we've kind of, I think we were going around the bush on it. But yeah, it's sometimes you can be so afraid of something that you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Which isn't a lot of stories. The more we learn about stories, I think that's a very common ethical lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably true for...
Which is, yeah, good. I think that's an important one to keep in mind, especially in this, like a lot of stories talk about revenge, and I think that's important, right? Revenge is not good. It creates all kinds of problems, even the things that you were trying to get revenge for. Yeah. What about clear conflict and resolution?
I see your breakdown of numbers, and I actually think I'm going to be a little higher than you. Cause,
for clear conflict and resolution?
It's just, it upsets expectations. Like, I think points 3 and 4 are...
So one of the big ideas, right, we got to talk about Sauron, okay? So Sauron, that's the hunt. That's what we're looking for. Who is Sauron? And they do reveal Sauron.
Who is Sauron?
Really?
How is Sauron?
Really? Who is he?
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
is he cool? Does he like hobbies? I don't know. He likes jewelry.
Picking stuff off of dead guys.
Yep,
well,
that's right.
Have hobbies. He forges.
He forges.
But everybody
He's a forger.
Who is Sauron or what is Sauron? We never ask how is Sauron.
How is Sauron?
Apparently he's sad boy.
Yep.
At least at the start.
Yep. And very, very moody at the end. It's like the one.
Oh yeah,
the one shot.
He's hitting on Galadriel.
Well, I like the shot of him walking into Mordor at the end.
He's got his hood up.
Yep.
He looks kind of like
looks very Sith. Yeah, looks very Sith. So, but yeah, so we find out Halbrand is Sauron, and they do a great reveal. I mean, I know a lot of people have different issues with the show, but the final episode is really good. I really enjoyed the final episode. The final reveal with Sauron is really good. Just everything about that scene is excellent. And so I would check that off. Conflict, who is Sauron? Revealed, check, everything's good there. There's a resolution. Not a resolution in a good way. Now this evil Dark Lord is on the loose again and ready to do some Dark Lord shenanigans, but...
Which, honestly, would be kind of boring if he wasn't.
Right. We've got 5 seasons and we've already wrapped up the bad guy. Cool.
Congratulations.
Now it's 4 seasons of peace.
Secretly, it's Nori.
Nori is Sauron.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the problem of the elves, right? This whole darkness is encroaching, this corrupting of the tree. The elves are diminishing, whatever language you want to use. They are like, hey, if we use the mithril to forge the 3 rings, then everything's going to be okay. But I don't feel like they describe how everything is supposed to happen.
but it happens. Like the three rings do create like some kind of force bubble around the elves.
Sure, but you have to say some kind of force bubble, and we don't know that has worked by the end of the. I guess they tell us that it has worked, but they don't show us that it has worked. Leaf. That's earlier. That's before.
We know it's possible, and I guess
one ingot connects one leaf. I guess
I'm thinking ahead to like Return of the King with Elrond wanting to send Arwen home because it's all very like reminiscent of this, and it seems like the problem doesn't go away, and it seems like the three rings were actually a band-aid solution long term, because there's the whole thing about like the grace of the elves is diminished and you need to go back to Valinor or you're gonna die here.
Sure.
And so it's like Sauron is the problem,
but I still feel like you're inferring a lot of that
from a movie that's not
and that's not the TV show. Yeah, like I do believe that they're related. I do believe they're the same canon. I do believe like there is intentional, like if you watch the show, there are intentional links to Peter Jackson's films all over the place. Tons. It's every episode they're linking things to Peter Jackson's films, but I don't get the solution entirely from the show itself. So
they could have done more.
Exactly. They could have done more. Like, I think it's kind of resolved, or I should say it is resolved.
You just don't know how.
Exactly. And I would have liked, with such a big problem as the elves are dying and have to leave, I would have liked some type of
fleshed out that.
Correct. Instead of just saying, hey, we made these rings and it's cool. Yeah. So.
But they put the soul of the elves and the light into the three rings, and three's a good number. And
3 is a good number. The rule of 3
divides, and 3
cannot be corrupted.
Which I don't. Whatever. Anyways, all right, but kind of.
What about orcs?
Yeah, so they actually.
I like the orcs. The orcs are good.
We haven't talked about Adar.
Good design on the orcs. Adar is fantastic. A fantastic villain.
And it's because he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yep, he's doing what's best for his people, the orcs.
Again, if you're a fan of Tolkien's world, the character of Adar is actually a huge payoff.
Yeah, he's cool.
Well, it's because they call him the father.
Yeah.
It's because he's like in my brain, it's because it's heavily implied that he's the very first orc.
Yeah, for the cinematic canon, for sure. Yeah.
But he's like, he's upset that the orcs live in a world that's not hospitable for them.
Yeah. He views the orcs as his children. Yeah. So he's got to provide for them and make them a world.
He's going to do that by taking a key, putting it in the lock, opening a dam, flooding a river.
Into a volcano,
creating Cheeto dust.
Yeah. I know you mentioned the Cheeto dust a lot. But yeah.
This is the first time this episode. It wasn't
this
bad.
Episode. Yeah.
I just remember the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
Anyways, but... So that's problem that is posed.
Yeah.
Which creates an existential threat for the rest of the world, which I think is interesting, because for you, as an audience, it should propose an existential threat. Because, which species deserves to live? Naturally, and I don't want to, honor Tolkien's intention.
Well, and I think the TV show does do a good job of presenting that, but I don't think it's a real moral quandary.
No.
Right? Like, I think even the TV show is clear that orcs are the bad guys.
But they're the bad ones because they're willing to, thrive off of everybody else.
Right.
And they're willing to do whatever it takes to get what they want.
Yeah.
Which is why when Galadriel does the whole torture sequence of...
She looks...
Not torture, but...
No, but she looks threatens. she acts like an orc.
Yeah,
Yep.
Her soul is corrupted.
Yeah.
Anyways, but they turn the Southlands, which is rich, fertile, at least at bare minimum average looking land.
Yep.
Into
the pits of Mordor.
Yeah, they turn it into a wasteland.
Yep.
And they do that interesting thing which ties in to Bronwyn and Arondir's character arc, because there's also, we didn't talk about this, but there's the whole character struggle of, are Southlanders good or are they bad?
Which
is clear ethical lesson. You get to choose.
Yeah, you're not defined by your past. You're not defined by your ancestors. You're not defined by your people. You're defined by your actions.
It's not what goes into a man. It's what
that defiles him. Yep, it's what comes out.
Anyways, true. So that's a clear ethical lesson. Actually, I don't know how we forgot that.
Yeah, because and that's in Micro. It's resolved in Theo. Theo is like, am I good? Am I bad? I don't know.
Do I go with the
he's
creepy
still,
bartender?
Yeah. Do I go with the creepy bartender? Always go with the creepy bartender.
Never.
No, just
kids that are listening,
just kidding.
never.
Nope. Go with the female elf, bro.
There was
Don't go with the creepy bartender.
There's the whole thing where the Southland Village, like in Bronwyn's rallying as a leader,
Yep.
and Arondir doing some massive jujitsu
Cool stuff.
on a mega Uric.
Yep.
They learn like there's that tragic moment when like they were fighting
their own people
that went, which I think was actually, I don't know, wasn't really like, it kind of was a reveal.
It was a big reveal. Yeah, you didn't. I mean, when you watch it, you can get there. You can get there.
Well, it's because like how are these villagers winning so easy against these battle hardened like war?
Well, there were orcs mixed in, but I had guessed based on
Adar's.
His response. He's like, "Oh yes, you can join us, but you have to do something first."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this could be bad." And then when the battling was happening, I was like, "Something's not right here."
So that conflict with, are the Southlanders good? Are they bad? It factors in with the creation of Mordor.
Yep.
Because the answer is yes. They're good and bad. Some of them choose good. Some of them choose Morgoth's way and Sauron.
Yep.
That culminates in the corruption of the land.
Yeah, Morgoth's way or the highway.
So honestly, that was a more interesting piece for me.
Yeah, it's very good. Very good. What about Numenor? Right? There's this societal. It's the same. It's the societal. Are you good or are you bad? It's not your legacy. It's not your ancestors. It's not your people.
So would you call this foreshadowing?
Yeah,
inverted
I think so.
foreshadowing.
Yeah,
like the Southlands were evil. And some of them chose good.
Yeah.
And Numenor was good.
And they're going to choose evil. I think so. Yeah, spoiler. Well, we mentioned that ahead of time, or earlier.
Yeah. Numenor is going to go...
Numenor's sinking. They're an island kingdom that's not going to be an island.
God punishes them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because they get so proud and arrogant.
Yep.
It's almost like the Tower of Babel.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's... I mean... That's for another time, but Tolkien based that story off of kind of mixing the flood narrative with the Tower of Babel.
Anyways, so that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that's great. They resolve that with Numenor for the most part. Again, it's a negative thing, right? The people that choose good have faced serious consequences. Yeah. Numenor loses their battle.
There's the whole
Southlands are turned into Mordor. Everything that they were doing is basically fruitless and worthless. But
yeah, I'm curious of Queen Muriel losing her sight.
Yep.
I mean, obviously that's poetic because Numenor is losing its vision. Yep. I almost wonder if there's going to be something about is justice blind in that too.
Yeah, it's very possible.
I guess we have to see what season 2 holds.
I am excited, for season 2 because I think Muriel and Elendil are going to arrive back in Numenor. Farazan's going to try and take control more. He's going to probably declare himself king, something like that. So
I bet he wins an election.
You think it's an election?
I bet it's
or
some kind
quotation
of
election.
Well, there's all that stuff.
Yeah,
where he's
Farazan's like, let's have an election. Meanwhile, I'm making sure everybody wins votes for me. Yeah.
I bet you. And if we get 5 million subscribers, we can have like the showrunners. Was it JD Payne and the other guy? His name I can't remember. We'll have them on and they can clarify. So like and sub. There's the whole scene where Galadriel's presence has upset Numenor. And Farazan can go in and make it about himself, calming the people's fears, but showing that he's such a good person. And I think is it his son?
Yeah.
Whose name doesn't matter. We'll call him Georgie or something.
Either don't call him anything or let me look it up.
We'll look it up.
Kemen.
I was going to say Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
Anyways, like
don't leave that guy home alone, bro. Oh my goodness.
There's a whole lot more.
Blows up the boats. Crazy.
Well, that's not what I was going where is it him who says like, how are you so good at this?
That's a great scene because that shows our Farazan's power over Numenor because he like just gives a little look and like the whole square evaporates, like all the people just disappear.
And he basically says, well, I agree with them because if we colonize Middle Earth, like
that's going to be better for us. Yeah. So I'll just stand behind the queen until I need to get in front myself. And
all this to say, I guarantee he's going to use his political power paired with the queen being blind
and a defeat. I mean, it was people were massacred. They lost who knows how many people.
I think all of that's going to combine, and he's basically going to do a vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
All
Chancellor
those
Valorum.
And then Muriel, who can see but can't see, because she can see
she can see what's really going on.
But
She just can't see physically.
I bet that's when her and Elendil are going to rival, and they're
they'll probably have like a rebellion kind of thing where Ar-Pharazôn tries to put him down, and
I bet that's true. I bet there is some kind of infighting.
Yep. Some kind of a muted civil war kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. So all of that, I mean, it's setting up a lot for season 2, which is really exciting.
So I guess Numenor's battle is not actually resolved.
No. So
all that to say.
What about engaging, relatable characters? We mentioned Elrond and Durin. Fantastic characters. Absolutely excellent. Anybody else? I really love Halbrand. He does a great job as Sauron. I mentioned the last episode, so I won't spend any more time there.
I think Elendil has very little showtime.
Yeah.
But it's good for his character.
Yep.
Right? He talks about his dead wife.
Yep.
He's trying to be a good dad while being like a military captain in a vessel.
Elendil too, like his kids are the whole thing of Numenor in Micro. One daughter loves the new prosperous ways of Numenor, and the son is Isildur.
Big dreamer.
Yeah, and he wants to go back to the old ways. Yep.
Speaking of Isildur, I mean, like, Isildur, I guarantee he's going to become more of a hero in the coming seasons.
Yeah, I wish. So Muriel, Isildur, Galadriel, Stranger, I think there's a lot more that they can do with those characters, and I'm excited to hopefully see them do something.
See, I think Queen Muriel actually was a pretty good character.
I think similar to Elendil, I just wish she had more time, I guess.
I think Isildur is almost a nobody character in this, which kind of is weird to say.
It's interesting, yeah. Because he's going to be so important later on, I would assume.
Yeah, so I almost wonder if the show is going to switch from being about Galadriel to being about Isildur.
That would be a cool switch, actually.
I feel like it has to be, though.
That would be really cool.
Because we know where this ends.
Yeah.
Unless they on
the slopes of Mount Doom.
Unless they don't, which will be mad disappointing.
Yeah, if they don't end with a giant final battle in season 5 on the slopes of Mount Doom,
if it's not a one-for-one recreation too, like if they don't have those significant shots,
it doesn't have to be a one-for-one.
I feel like it needs. I think they need to like link it. If they're going to do that battle, I feel like they need to link it with the Fellowship of the Ring sequence.
I don't think they have to. The Hobbit redid stuff because in the flashback, Bilbo's old, played by the same actor, but then in the new Hobbit, right, it's Martin. What is his name? Freeman? Yeah, Martin Freeman. Yeah, so
I just, anyways, that's just a personal desire.
Yeah,
that's
sure,
neither here nor there.
Sure.
Anyways, all that to say, like, again, it's a TV show. There's limited runtime.
Yep. Only 8 episodes. They're like an hour each.
I almost wonder if they did too much. Like, they had too many characters.
Yeah, maybe they can refine it. So I will say that is one of my, like, we try to stay positive. There are so many things happening in this show that I feel like they don't quite nail it all. Yeah. And one of the biggest problems for me, I'm not a fan of the Harfoots. I don't think they add a whole lot. There are things that I enjoy, like from Captivating World perspective, there are things that I enjoy, but from the plot, I don't feel like they add enough to warrant the amount of screen time that they receive.
But I mean, you know why they did that.
Yeah, everybody wants hobbits. I get it.
I don't want hobbits per se. And I think, honestly, having Harfoots kind of make it less special.
Correct. I felt like it was such a... Like, there's a reason that Lord of the Rings starts with hobbits and moves into epic stuff and then returns to hobbits at the end.
Yeah.
And this show kept the hobbits the whole time. And so it's like, oh my gosh, everything's being destroyed. Hey, we're going on a little journey with some hobbits. And I'm like, wait, whoa, we have really broken off here.
I am...
Mad switch.
One of the plots I'm most excited about is for Totally Not Gandalf and Totally Not Frodo's total ancestor to go off.
And Sam. And Sam's.
Oh, yeah. No, Poppy stayed.
Poppy stays?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay.
Because it's just Nori and Gandalf.
So that's a little bit different, which I appreciate. They didn't do the full 2 hobbits and a wizard trope.
Yeah, and I appreciate why it explains... If we're correct, which is a big if. It could be Sauron. Who knows?
I don't want it to be Gandalf, but...
I'm pretty sure it is.
That's a separate thing.
I know. It would be cool if it's not, but I bet it is. It would be at least redeeming if it explains why Gandalf has such an affinity for hobbits. And why he has such an affinity, especially for going on adventures with hobbits. But all that to say... the Harfoots as a side, I agree. Like it takes you. I would just be getting set in where I'm like, I'm all into this, and then there's something with the Harfoots that kind of sucks you out.
Yep.
Like as soon as you're like on the edge of your seat.
Yep. It's not the same vibe, and I think it really does a lot with the consistency, which we're going to talk about here.
Which is not about the actors or not about the props or the sets or the music. It's just a different tone.
Correct. Yeah. I don't have a problem with the acting or the sets of the Harfoots. I just think from a design and a plot and a feel, it just doesn't quite hit home.
I will also say that societally, like, it doesn't mix with the tone. Because they're very, like, Pirates Code.
Yeah.
Like, it's super happy.
Those who get left behind are left
like,
behind.
Nori's dad shatters his ankle, and they're like, I guess you and your family are going to die.
Yep.
Sorry.
Hope you can keep up, punks.
Like, it's just, but it's like happy music, and you're like, what is going on?
Happy music. Well, my favorite part is when...
They're like reciting the names of the funeral thing?
No, I think that's actually an interesting thing. That totally made sense for me with their with their culture. No, my favorite part is what's her name? Malva. When Malva's like, we should take their wheels and leave them. I was like, holy cow, that's murder, bro. That is downright murder in a nomadic tribe.
Yeah.
That is literally breaking their legs and leaving them for dead. That is dark. It is dark.
So,
at that point, I was like, Malva is Sauron.
Which is a good bleed into consistency. Wow. That is a harsher move into consistency, where the Harfoots, I think, are my biggest gripe with consistency.
Yeah. You mentioned the costumes earlier. Some are good, some are bad.
So, again, we're trying to stay positive.
Yep.
Some of the costumes are epic.
Yeah.
I think the dwarves
look great.
I think the
Elrond's clothes look really good.
Yeah. On average, elves look great. The colors look rich.
Yep.
It feels like a more prosperous time than the Lord of the Rings, but you definitely can see callbacks.
Architecture's really good. They do a good job with the architecture.
It really is just the Numenorean like goldfish plate.
Yeah.
Or rather white koi fish plate.
Yeah, the armor and the kind of dressing of some of the Numenoreans is just not quite the same scale as everything else.
Well, we're not supposed to compare, but I'm going to compare. In every Lord of the Rings movie, every set of armor that a soldier's wearing looks gritty, lived in, real. Like, and it was real. Like 9 out of 10 times, it was real. But there's just the undershirts of the Numenorean soldiers looks like Under Armour to me.
Yeah.
Unironically.
Yeah. I also think consistency-wise, there's the one episode in the middle that's just like a pit for me. It doesn't mention the dwarves at all. And it like hops in between Numenor, the Harfoots, Gil-galad, Galadriel.
This is
it just
infamous Galadriel fights 5 soldiers at once to prove a point.
Yeah. And the problem for me is, one, nothing moves forward in that episode plot-wise, especially in Numenor. The episode before, we're getting ready to go to Middle-earth, and then we're still getting ready to go to Middle-earth at the end of this episode. So,
plus a kid blows up a boat.
Yeah.
Kevin blows up a boat.
Yep.
And doesn't get in any trouble.
Nope.
People probably died.
No, I don't think anyone died. But some horses died. There were horses on that boat.
That's true.
Yep.
We saw that.
Yep.
Anyways, but some stuff like that's weird. I'm actually going to throw fight scenes under the bus.
So I really enjoyed the pit at the beginning.
Yes,
the work camp, super good. Yeah.
Like you almost cry.
It's like World War I when those elves go over the top of the trench and you're like, did they make it? Doesn't look like they made it. And then Arondir goes over the top and you're like, there's his commander just dead. And you're like, oh my gosh.
And it's because they do such a good, like the wailing in the distance of that episode.
Yep.
The just savagery of the orc weapons being mostly bone.
Yep. The elves showing how they're superior fighters, fighting with chains when the orcs are using weapons and the elves are still mostly holding their own.
Yeah, and so like, the despair of that scene is really well done. But
then there are other scenes.
And I like Arondir's fighting.
Yeah.
All of the Arondir fighting scenes is good.
Yeah.
However, they keep hyping Galadriel as this epic warrior. She does do some stuff, like the ice troll in the very beginning. It feels like too much. It doesn't actually feel like a fight.
Correct.
It feels like she soloed him, and like it's like when you're playing a video game.
Yep. You do the special move, and you like.
Yeah, you could take out the boss in one hit.
Yep.
And sure, maybe that proves their point.
And if you, maybe that's what they're going for. But it if you compare trolls right?
Yeah.
You can look at the cave troll scene from the Fellowship of the Ring. It takes the entire Fellowship wailing on this guy to bring him down. And they do it in an epic way, and they look like they're very competent people, you know?
But it's the savagery and the intensity that makes them look like competent warriors.
Yep. And Galadriel, like, dances around him and takes him down.
There's also when Galadriel and Halbrand are locked up in the Númenórean jail, and she just shoves Númenóreans.
Yeah.
And it's just not good choreography, so it literally looks like she just backhands a Númenórean into a jail cell. Or even the fight scene we aforementioned where she's training Númenórean soldiers and promotes that one guy.
And that one is supposed to be comical, and it does give off the comical vibe. The problem is it's supposed to be training.
It's the CGI-ness.
Yeah.
Where... And this is not... I think the actress' name is Moyfred Clark.
Yep.
This is not against her, right?
Morphin Clark.
There are limitations on what even stunt doubles can do.
Correct. And I think Morphin Clark does a great job. I don't have any complaints with her. But the choreograph...
fight scenes feel too much.
Yep. And also not enough at the same time. Yeah. It's like too over the top, but not accomplishing... the
what
goal
its desire is. Like the horse flips thing, like it just looks silly to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like you having this very intense fight scene, and then Galadriel's just like tumbling around her horse, dodging stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like there were just better ways to show her warriorness that would have been more acceptable and cooler.
Which maybe they'll do that more in season 2, right? But when we're looking at just season 1, it breaks the consistency and the world a little bit.
Last point we should probably make is Mithril.
Yeah, I don't feel that it's really explained well. The explanation for the Mithril helping save the elves from the darkness, it's all based in the episode that feels like a pit to me, where it pulls you out and it stops the consistency. So I don't really like it. But we've talked about it a lot, so I don't really feel like I have to
butter
scraped over too much bread. Yeah, a little bit. Like, not enough. It's not enough.
We want that salted butter.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
All that to say, overall, really decent show. Looks wonderful.
Very enjoyable. Wonderful. Yeah. Oh my goodness. The music, Howard Shore and Bear McCreary, fantastic composers. And like, I listen to the Rings of Power soundtrack once a month at least. I mean, it's very good. When the show first came out, the Rings of Power soundtrack was in number 4 as most listened to songs of the year for me. So
I thought you were gonna say of all time. Like, wow,
no, of the year. But it is a good soundtrack.
You got Drake, Taylor Swift, Rings of Power soundtrack.
Yeah, that's my playlist right there.
It's very discombobulating, if I'm honest. Dum 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 dum. Anyways. So overall, well, I think that
brings us to the end,
which is kind of wild, seeing as this is the end of season 1.
That brings us to the end,
to the end of all things.
Josh, what would you give it? To your rating?
So there's some parts that I just really love.
Yep.
Like the Durin Elrond bromance is like S tier.
It's very good.
Sets are S tier to me.
And we're always trying to specify, right? Enjoyment is different from the rubric. And so whatever rating we decide on, this is still a recommended story, right? Like, I would recommend watching this show.
And again, like, where C's are good.
Yep.
Like, if we give something a C, all that to say, there are really high points for me, but there are also
lower points.
Very low points. So I would say at best B-, but more realistically, I think I'm going to give it a C.
Yeah. I did my rubric. I added up all the scores, and I get to a C, maybe a C+, but it's average, right? It's enjoyable, it's good, it's a story, but it's not anything extraordinary. It's also not terrible. There's a lot of controversy and a lot of very passionate people, but
we don't need to step in that.
I don't think I think it's good. I don't think it deserves a lot of the hate that it gets.
Yeah, it's very enjoyable. It's, you feel like you're watching Lord of the Rings. It puts you in Middle Earth.
Yep.
You get really cool background development where obviously this is set aside from reading the books.
Yeah, because that is an important thing to note. I do not consider this the same story as the books. It's just different. I do the same thing with the Lord of the Rings movies. I do the same thing with the Hobbit movies. These are
It's inspired by.
Inspired by, correct. Not a one-for-one adaptation. This is a new story. It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe versus the comics.
Sure.
Right? It's
That's a good
inspired by,
comparison, yes.
but it's not the same. It's, think of it as a multiverse kind of thing.
Which, I enjoy Peter Jackson's The Rings
very
universe
good.
more
Very good.
in some ways. Which don't sue us for that.
I mean, if you do, I'll probably join the lawsuit.
Take all of our Patreon holdings. All that to say, it's very enjoyable. C's good. You should watch it.
Yeah,
and I really would guess that it's only going to get better as a show.
Yeah, I think so.
Especially if they're really if they're
serious about it. Yeah.
And if they're taking 2 to 3 years of time between each season, it better be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Definitely. So and you can look forward to it. It comes out in August. So season 2 is coming soon.
Right around the time we do our season 2.
Interesting.
That was totally accidental.
Shh.
It was.
Shh.
Oh, okay.
It's all planned, Josh. It's all planned. The hand of Iluvatar is working. Okay, here we go. So you should sub our podcast.
Yeah.
YouTube. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And Spotify, Apple Music.
Everything.
Everywhere. In fact, just go and make accounts on all of those and follow us.
No, but if you've liked the podcast, you could stay in contact and get at least the vibe in the Discord. We'll be continuing our Mantra Mondays and our Heroic Thursdays on Instagram. So if you just want a little bit, you can follow there. Who knows? We might throw out a couple of things here or there.
Yeah.
You never know. So
always down for some extra episodes.
Your What's New podcast feature on Spotify, and if Apple has one, just keep your eye open. But when can they expect the new season to kick off?
We'll be in the fall.
Coming early fall to you.
Yep, early fall to you.
Yep. Well, I guess this is a moment.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye. It was a short moment.
That was the point.
Yeah, it's got to be podcast. Okay, red light's on. Okay.
It's gotta be podcast.
It's got to be. Okay.